Hi everyone, Joe Biden has issues with personal space. Here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Tiny Moving Parts album, Swell. As far as I can tell, this is pretty much the sixth full-length album from this Minnesota band that has been one of the more consistent emo bands of the past 10 years or so. They dropped their debut record, I think shortly after the genre kind of crested after a very high point of mainstream appeal in the 2000s. And despite emo's relative lack of new and refreshing ideas, the genre is still going pretty strong, with a healthy dose of releases dropping every year in the genre, from the likes of Tiger's Jaw and Sorority Noise and Modern Baseball, The World is a Beautiful Place, and of course Mom Jeans. Some bands that have been hugely influential in the genre have made some somewhat huge comebacks over the past few years. American Football, Brand New. In this decade, there's been a handful of releases in the genre that I've truly enjoyed, especially on the more screamo side of things like La Dispute and Touche Amore, or the incredibly catchy Adventures. And the scene has also been pretty integral in fostering personal favorites of mine, such as Crying. So yeah, I know I get this reputation for just hating emo and hating anything that emo has to offer, and spoiler alert, this review isn't really gonna do much to change that. But I thought I would talk about this record given that TMP is one of the genre's more popular bands right now. And the band's previous records, while not being entirely original, are actually not that bad. One album like the very raw and mathy This Couch is Full of Friendship definitely stood out to me. And their previous records Celebrate, while not as fine-tuned and produced as this latest album over here, stood out to me for its catchy songwriting. The tracks on this thing were pretty anthemic, very pop-punky. However, Swell has to be one of the blandest and most creatively bankrupt records the band has come through with yet. At least previous records from this same band had a little bit more grit to them. By comparison, Swell feels so much more oversaturated, just kind of adding the occasional shot of horns or strings or keyboards in an attempt to, I guess, make the band's incredibly stale sound come off as refreshing. And what is making the sound stale? It is the tired formula of dramatically played pop-punk rhythm guitars. And then, of course, we have these clean lead guitars pulling off these melodically meaningless math rock licks. Lots of whiny, shouty lead vocals that are just kind of going through the motions of the emo blueprint. Vocals that I would not be able to pick out of a lineup to save my life. Literally, if it was a life or death situation, I would be dead accurately picking out the singer of this band. The best thing about these tracks consistently is the drumming, which is usually pretty tight, pretty expressive, but the production on this thing is so needlessly dense that what intricacies the drumming is bringing to the table end up being a little buried by the sheer lack of imagination coming out of everything placed on top of them, especially the lyrics on this thing, which are mostly just a faux poetic display of all of the tropes that we've heard in many an emo record to come, with all of these hyper-emotional portrayals of breathing and suffocating, coming back, or leaving, or waking up, or not waking up, love and emotional numbness, as well as an acute awareness of particular parts of the human anatomy at given points of particular songs throughout the record. My heart this, my brain that. I mean, some of the lyrics on this thing are actually like a little difficult to read through. You are caffeine in my bloodstream, you are the energy hidden in between two muscles sleeping, please don't wake me up. Occasionally the lyrics on this thing are as uninspired and as grating as the music itself on this record. I guess I can say generally the performances on this record are pretty tight, and the production is pretty clean, if not, again, just a little overloaded. And I guess the band structures some of its songs ambitiously, but essentially what these structures build up to is just a very trite portrayal of the emo sound, which to my ear seems to be getting more homogenized by the year, being propagated with the exact kinds of math rock nods and vocal styles and I guess pedestrian lyrics that you'll find on this very record. I guess don't let the overabundance of emotion displayed on this album fool you, because truly from an artistic standpoint, it's pretty uninspired. I'm feeling a light to decent 4 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit that like if you like. Please subscribe, and please don't cry. Over here next to my head is another review you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Tiny Moving Parts, forever.